Stanley, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jack. Good to be here.
Yeah, like I was just saying, ever since we booked this in, I've been excited to chat to you. So I'm excited it's finally here and we get to have this conversation.
I'm excited and I'm ready to roll too. Let's go change some lives.
So I wanted to jump in first. Did I read this right? You've lost 220 pounds?
Yes, sir. 102 kilos for those of you who are metric.
That is epic. So tell us about that story.
Okay, well, my journey, I won't call it a battle, I'll call it my journey with obesity, started when I was 8 years old. My mother died when I was 8, and it messed with my head. And I'm living with my massively obese father who had no clue how to eat a healthy diet, who, probably had his own emotional issues dealing with, with the loss of his wife and everything else. And we both just ate ourselves into oblivion. We ate junk food, bad food. And that was right around the time, you're going to laugh when I tell you to show my age. That was right around the time when microwave ovens came out.
Okay.
And so we really started pigging out on all the food we can make very quickly in our microwaves. And it actually reminds me of a story. My best friend told my father, he said, "Did you know you can make hard-boiled eggs in the microwave?" And my father said, "You can?" He said, "Yeah, just put an egg in the middle of the microwave and turn it on." And the thing blew up in the microwave. I mean, my friend knew it was going to do that, but he did it just to mess with my father. But the little funny stories that you all of a sudden remember.
Yeah.
So here I am getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. And to show you how big I was, a lot of men, they brag if they're as small as they were when they got married. Well, I'm smaller than I was when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Smaller. I was probably close to 200 pounds when I was that age. Maybe not quite 200. I don't remember exactly. But I found some pictures and I've talked to some of my friends from that time. So, I've got other people's opinions. I was a big boy. It affected my life, in many ways. I had friends, but it hurt. Dating relationships hurt lots of things. I would have periods where I lost some weight and then I'd put it right back on because I'd go back to my old habits. Then I'd lose some more weight, then I'd put it right back on, typical obesity struggle that you hear about. Well, I'll give you a little bit more backstory along the way. I had one time when I was about 31 years old, I lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
Which is a lot, but I didn't keep it off. And because I went back to my old habits, but I did keep some of it off. And the reason why I did keep some of it off was almost half of it was I learned a little trick. See, when I lost the weight, I did it with the Weight Watchers program. I did not learn how to eat healthy. All I learned was portion control. And so, but what I did learn when I was at my largest, I had a habit where I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would go to the freezer and I would take something out and I would make a full meal in the middle of the night.
Wow.
Every night. Well, I broke that habit. I would go to the freezer. I would pull out a frozen dinner and I would look at the picture on the box and I would imagine what it tasted like because I'd eaten many of them. I would imagine what it tasted like. And I said, that was good. And then I put the box back in the freezer and I went back to sleep. So I broke myself from the habit of eating meals in the middle of the night. So when I did start going back to my old habits of eating junk food, I did not get as large as I did. So there's two things to learn from that. Temporary change is going to give you temporary results. Permanent change is going to give you permanent results. See, all the eating changes I made were temporary, except for stopping eating in the middle of the night. That was permanent. So that's why I didn't get back to my largest.
Why do you think that was permanent and the others weren't?
Just because I probably did it on accident. To be honest with you, I got in the habit of not eating in the middle of the night. I broke the habit of eating a meal in the middle of the night.
That's
And
unreal.
I didn't, I don't, I'm not so, I would like to say I did it intentionally, but I'm not so sure.
Okay.
See, you have to realize a lot of these things that I did, they were things I learned in retrospect. I didn't necessarily learn them at the time. They're
Mm,
things, as I've gone back and analyzed my journey and my experience, these are things I've figured out. But at the time, I had no clue. You know, I didn't figure that out. So I was I was around 31, 32. I I and I also want to I want to take a side note real quick and talk about my part of my healing journey, which was part of this, because a lot of people, all of us, we had suffer from some kinds of trauma that we had a lot of times when we were younger, sometimes when we were older. But there's trauma. Well, for me, when my mother died when I was 8, I shut down emotionally.
mm,
I turned stone cold. Food became my friend. Food became my lover. And I would eat to satisfy myself. But so, and I did not heal. That was all inside of me. Did not heal. Never cried at her funeral. Never cried. You know, it was all in there. But life, the universe, sometimes does us favors if we're looking. Um, Around the time I lost that weight, one of my aunts, one of my mother's sisters died. And I went to the funeral. And when I went to the funeral, I walked into the cemetery. There were 2 young boys standing in front of me. One
mm,
was about 9, one was about 6. They were cousins of mine. I had never met them before. And this was their grandmother who died. The 9-year-old was crying, you know, like a baby. The 6-year-old was standing by himself, stone cold, not crying. Sound familiar?
mm,
I sat there, you know, they tell you you should talk to your inner child. Well, I got a chance to do even better than that.
mm,
I looked at him and I said, "That's me." And I said, "I'll be damned if I let happen to this kid what happened to me." So I went up to him, I introduced myself. I said, "I'm your cousin. I know exactly how you feel right now. You don't know what to make of this. You know, my mother died when I was around your age. I felt the same way. It's okay for you to cry."
mm,
And I put my arms around him and I did not let go until he started crying. So not only did I get to talk to my inner child, I got to hug him
mm,
and embrace him. And I, needless to say, all the tears that did not come out at my mother's funeral came out at that funeral. So that was an opportunity to heal, but it gets even better. There was an elderly gentleman at the funeral. I'm Jewish and Orthodox, he was Orthodox. Orthodox Jews, many of them do not believe children belong at funerals. They do not like children in cemeteries.
mm,
So he sits there and he says, "What are these kids doing here in this cemetery? Kids don't belong at funerals." Well, Jack, I snapped.
mm,
One of the few times in my life, I turned around and I said, "That was their grandmother. If there's anybody that belongs here at this funeral, it's those 2 kids. And if there's anybody that doesn't belong here at this funeral, it's you, you son of a bitch. You can get out of here right now." And he shut up and he did not say another word. So that's how raw the experience was for me. So not only did I get to hug my inner child and heal him, I got to defend him and stand up for him too.
mm.
You know, that was even better. That's how good the experience was. It
Yeah.
was like somebody handed it to me on a plate. Um, so here I am in my 30s. I got small, around 270 pounds, not at my max 367, around 270, 265, somewhere around there. Small enough to where women were interested in me, but still a pretty big boy. But they were interested. So I wound up dating a lot and wound up getting married. Then by that time, I was both a CPA and an attorney.
So I was going to ask, you're about 30, early 30s. What are you doing? Like what work-wise,
Okay, work-wise,
life-wise?
okay. Up until the age of 28, I was we call them CPAs, certified public accountant. You probably call them chartered accountants
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Yep.
But I was an accountant, and I had started a real estate company with one of my older brothers. We started one together, and we were working together. Well, when I was about 28, we got in an argument one day. And in the middle of the argument, he says, "You ought to go to law school." And I said, "That's a good idea." And I showed him, and I signed up for law school, and it took me 4 years because I went at night instead of 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I became an attorney, a barrister. Um, so I did that. And so there's a lesson that I learned from that experience, which is you can be arguing with someone who's totally full of crap, which he was, but you should still listen to what they're saying because some words of wisdom may accidentally come out of their mouth that you need to hear.
Yep.
So thank you, brother. He gave me some good advice in not so nice of a way, but he did give me good advice. But that's typical, with brothers, you get at it with each other.
Mm.
So here I am. I graduated from law school. I'm about 270, 265. So we got dating again. Wound up getting married. Started my own law and accounting practice. I'm working for myself, and the typical stresses that you would see. And I slowly started putting weight on again, weight on again, weight on again. By the time I was almost 50 years old, back February 1st, 2009, that was 17 years ago, I was almost 50. I was up to 320 pounds.
Far out.
I never got back to my full 367
Mm.
because I stopped eating those meals in the middle of the night, but I was still 320.
Mm.
I won't say I was at rock bottom. I was not. I had not had a heart attack yet. I had not had a stroke yet, but all those things were coming. So, like many people do when they're approaching a milestone age, men and women, I said, where am I going to be in 5 years if I keep doing what I'm doing? Would you care to guess what the answer was? Go ahead.
You would just, heart attack,
Yeah,
stroke. Yeah.
dead.
Mm.
And guess what? I didn't want to be dead.
Mm.
So I turned to my wife and I said, I'm done. I'm cooked. I mean, done. I said, I'm wasting my life and I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to make some changes in my life right now.
Love
Not
that.
tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, right now. Now, notice something here. I told you that was February 1st, 2009. Do you know why it was not January 1st? New Year's resolutions, why it wasn't January? Because I had made a New Year's resolution January 1st that I was going to do something. It was a vague resolution.
Mm.
And I failed. I didn't do it. I didn't keep my resolution. So there's a lesson to be learned from there. We are human beings. We're going to mess up. No doubt about it. You're going to mess up. And I'm going to talk more about that as we go on. You're going to mess up. The question is, what do you do when you mess up? Do you quit? Or do you hop back on the horse and get going again?
Mm.
As they say, fall down 7 times, get up 8. So this time was different. That was not I've told you that was not the first time I lost weight, but what made this time different was my level of determination. I said, I'm going to start right now. These are the changes I'm going to make right now, and I'm going to do them for the rest of my life. Because I was that disgusted with where I was, but I was
Mm.
not at rock bottom.
Okay. Far out.
However, no, I wasn't at rock bottom.
Mm.
I hadn't had a heart attack yet, hadn't had a stroke yet. So there's some lessons to be learned here.
Mm.
It took me 49 and a half years to get to the point where I changed my life in an instant.
Mm.
Now, one of the things I do is I now help people learn how to change their life in an instant without waiting 49 and a half years to do it. Now, go
I,
ahead. You're going to say.
I absolutely love that. And I'm excited to dive into how to actually get people to change, because you're right. So many people just get caught up in their life and try and change so many times, or they will have some sort of heart attack, stroke, but they still don't change.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all get caught up because we're human beings.
Yeah. I was actually having this conversation yesterday with somebody about working the 9 to 5, and a lot of my clients, because I'm a personal trainer, as soon as work gets busy, it's like they just forget about themselves, and it's like, oh, I've got to focus on this work and get this work done. I'm like, well, hold on. You're more important. Your life, your body is more important than any work that you're doing. So
What do they tell you when you get on an airplane?
Yeah,
You're in Australia, but I'm assuming they tell you the same thing.
100%.
So if you're traveling with small infants, put your oxygen mask on first.
Yep.
If you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to do your work. You're not going to be able to handle things.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to take care of your family. You're not going to be able to take care of your responsibilities. You're going to fall apart.
It's crazy how people just forget that, though. As soon as work or life gets busy, it's just they forget that.
I
So,
think they never learn it. I don't think it's they forgot. I think they never learn it.
okay.
That's why we're going to talk about it.
Well, before we move on, I appreciate you telling the story about your mum passing away and your auntie as well. It's just canny. Like, I was literally having a chat to a friend yesterday, and she's going through the same thing with her cousin, who's
Yeah.
just lost his mum, and he's early teens, so she's battling through that. So, yeah, it wouldn't be easy at all. So I can imagine how it did affect you, like hearing what she was
Make
saying.
sure he cries.
Mm,
See, I didn't cry and no one noticed it and no one made me cry.
yeah.
See, that was back in 1967. People didn't send kids to therapists back in 1967.
Mm,
Nowadays they would.
yep.
But, but make sure the kid gets it out
Mm,
because, that stuff sticks with you in one form or another. It really does. And so here I am. I've decided to change my life in an instant.
mm,
I said two things. I said, I'm going to learn to start eating better right now. And what I knew about eating better then, I know a lot more about eating better now than I did 17 years ago. I've learned a lot
mm.
since. It's been a journey and a process of getting better and better and better, smarter and smarter and smarter, learning more and more and more. But that's okay. Because one of the things I'm going to emphasize to people listening several times here, the important thing is to get started and keep going.
Mm.
That's it.
Definitely.
You don't have to be perfect. Get started, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You mess up, get going again. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So anyway, I said, I'm learning to start eating better now. And for me, what that translated into three things. First thing I did was I decided to quit drinking alcohol. I was drinking scotch every day. And was I an alcoholic? I don't know.
Mm.
Was the alcohol serving me or was I serving it? I was serving it. No doubt about it. And I was definitely drinking too much and I didn't need it. So I said, no more. I believe in symbolism. So I took my last bottle of scotch, I poured it down the toilet, and I hit flush. I've not had a drink since then. It's been 17 years. Okay. And I don't miss it.
Mm.
Now, soda pop, 2-liter bottles. I was drinking 3 of those a day,
Wow.
but they were diet caffeine free. Like, so surely, based upon what the soda companies tell you, that's got to be more healthy than the regular one. No, it was not. They're not good. They're not healthy. So once again, I took my last bottle, poured it down the toilet, hit flush, gone. Haven't had one in 17 years. Don't miss it. Well, and believe it or not, I actually found the soda pop harder to stop drinking than I did the alcohol.
You're up.
It's kind of funny.
Mm.
Now, right away, I quit drinking the alcohol. I didn't miss it. See, let's talk about addiction for a minute. Was I addicted to the alcohol? Maybe. Was I addicted to the soda pop? Maybe, probably. But there's 2 different kinds of addiction here: emotional addiction and physical addiction. If you're addicted to heroin and you quit taking heroin, you're going to feel it physically. Your body's going to go through nasty physical changes, and it's going to be hard. When I quit drinking the alcohol and I quit drinking the soda pop, there were no physical consequences to doing that. I was not physically addicted to those things. I was emotionally addicted to them. I wanted them emotionally. They were my friends. So I believe people may disagree with me here, but I know in my experience, because if it's not physical, I think it's probably easier on you to quit than if it's something physical. I mean, I can only imagine, I know what I went through, and I can only imagine what someone who was a heroin addict or something would go through to get off that.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to have that experience, and I feel for them. So I said that. And then the other thing was, I said, I'm going to make a dietary change. I'm going to quit eating red meat. I'm going to quit eating beef and pork. And for me, that was an accomplishment because my father was a butcher. And I grew up in a home with unlimited free meat. And for me to stop eating beef and pork, that was an accomplishment. But I did. But here's the funny part. Remember how I told you how I, learned to quit eating those dinners in the middle of the night because I would look at the picture?
Yep.
What I learned was, and I now know when I counsel people, I tell people, you can taste food without putting it in your mouth. I mean, I can tell you right now, I can talk about, I used to make great pork ribs. And you can say the words pork ribs, and I can instantly taste what they were. Instantly. But I didn't put them in my mouth. They didn't go into my digestive system, and they didn't hurt me. And yet I got the experience of the pork ribs. And, and like I like to tell people, people go, oh, well, you gave that up. Look, I've already had my lifetime share of pork ribs and yours and probably 20 other people's. It's time for me to have some other experiences. So I did those. And then I said, I'm going to start walking. I'm going to try to walk every day. And I said my exercise of choice is going to be walking. I figured you didn't need a lot of special equipment. You could do it almost anywhere, almost any time. And I figured it would beat my body up less than most other forms of exercise. And at the age of 50, I was concerned about beating my body up, especially carrying all that weight. And when I started, I had trouble walking 2 or 3 blocks. But because I live at the top of a hill, and when I was coming home, I'd have to walk up the hill, and I'm going, out of breath. And my wife and I were just laughing about that a couple of days ago. She said, remember when we used to walk up the hill, we'd get out of breath? I go, yeah, I remember. So one of the things I did was I found a gym that had a pool in it that was open 24 hours, and I would go there in the middle of the night when the pool was empty,
Mm.
and I would walk laps in the pool. So I got the walking in, and it didn't beat my body up. And I started walking for 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And I set a goal for myself. I want to do on my 50th birthday, I want to do a 5-hour pool walk. And I did.
Huh.
And boy, it actually wasn't that bad. And I sat there and did that. And by the time I was 50, I lost about 50 pounds. And so I kept going. Then after about 4 or 5 years into the process, by that time I was walking probably 10 miles a day, believe it or not. That's a lot.
Mm.
Um, that's how many kilometers is that? I guess it's 15 to 20. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
about
yeah.
half.
Yeah. So I was walking 15 to 20 kilometers a day
Mm.
and doing it. And I said, I'm going to make another push dietary wise. I gave up chicken and turkey, but I kept eating eggs and dairy. So essentially I went vegetarian.
Mhm.
And from that day when I went vegetarian up until now, over 12 years ago, I've been sick one time in those 12 years. Now, I'm not saying, I might get a cold or something, but I define sickness as where I'm knocked out.
Mm.
I have a fever or I have whatever. That's sickness. So one time. So dietary, I think nutrition is very important. And we can talk about that as we get, a little bit further into this. And then about 4 or 5 years into that process, I couldn't get my weight below 180 pounds. And my walking activity had jumped up to almost 15 miles a day
Mhm.
and probably 25 kilometers. And I couldn't get below 180 pounds. As I said, something's wrong here. So I gave up cheese, butter, and ice cream. I gave up all
Mhm.
dairy. And when I did that, I lost 50 pounds in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I melted.
Yep.
It was unbelievable how fast I lost the weight. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd get on the scale, 1 pound down, next day, 1 pound down, next day, 1 pound down. And like that's exciting when that happens.
Yeah.
Uh, so so I'm doing all that and I've been vegan ever since. And one change I have made is I no longer eat processed food either.
Mm.
You can be vegan and eat junk food.
Yep.
There's a lot of junk food that's vegan,
Mm.
and they have those things like Impossible Burgers and things like that. They're I'm not trying to say anything bad about those companies, but they're loaded with chemicals. They're loaded with sodium. They're loaded with all kinds of things that I personally do not want to put in my body.
Mm.
So let's talk about nutrition for 1 minute, and then we're going to talk about what I learned out of this experience.
Yep.
Okay. To me, first of all, I don't like the word diet. It's got die in it. Okay. So it's not good. I go healthy nutrition, So like, for example, I've got one lady in my neighborhood, her daughter is engaged. She's going to get married in a few months and she's been walking every day and she's been losing weight.
Hmm.
And I see her and I talk to her and I go, you're looking great. And I called her skinny the other day and she loves that when I do that. So, she said, I'm on the wedding diet. I go, no, you're not. You're on the wedding permanent lifestyle change
Mm.
program. And she says, whatever you want to call it. And I said, hey, I'm the resident weight loss expert in the neighborhood. That's what I'm calling it. And that's what you're on. So learn it, believe it. So food, what you put healthy, a healthy diet is not just the food you put in your mouth. It's the thoughts you put in your head.
Mm.
It's the environment you create around yourself. It's the people you associate with. It's the activities you do. It's all those things and more. You want to intentionally, consciously create a positive environment for yourself. And we're going to talk more about that when I start getting into the tail end of this program.
Mm-hmm.
So the question becomes, and now I'm like 145 pounds. My weight is stable. I feel great. I just had my blood work done about a month ago. I went to the doctor, had my annual physical. I would put my blood work numbers up against any 30-year-old.
Nice.
And they would probably beat any 30-year-old.
Mm.
And I'm 66.
Mm.
And I feel like I'm 30 or 35, except I wasn't this healthy when I was 30 or 35. So I'm actually better. So and I want to talk about that for a minute.
Mm.
People talk about, especially people, they talk about genetics and how that impacts your health. I'm predisposed to diabetes. I'm predisposed to cancer. I'm predisposed to this. I'm predisposed to that. That may be true. But this is what I've been told by experts, and I personally believe this. Your health is 10% genetics. It is 10% what happens to you. I mean, I could be walking down the street and get hit by a bus.
Mm.
I mean, it's 10% what happens to you, and it's 80% what you do to yourself and what you do for yourself. So I choose to focus on what I can control. And what I can control is what I put in my body, the environment around me, the people I associate with. That's one of the reasons I'm glad I'm talking with you right now.
Mm.
I'm associating with a high quality individual. There is benefit from that. That was a compliment, by the way.
I appreciate that.
So those are things that you can consciously control.
Mm.
And that's what improves your life. My exercise, my walking activities. You're a trainer. I'm sure you tell people to exercise.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all very important. So now, what did I learn out of this experience of going from this to this? Okay.
It's a different person.
No, it's the same person, same DNA,
True.
but different person, different identity.
Yep.
I became a different person, I changed my identity. So here's what I learned from the experience. I'm a confident man. I'm both an attorney and an accountant, and I've had a very successful business career. I could quit working right now if I wanted to. I don't have to work. I'm in a stage of my life where I could retire right now and be perfectly happy, but I don't want to. I've got a mission, and we're going to talk about that. So what I learned is that I am more powerful than I ever imagined. Way more powerful. I mean, look, I went from a person who could not walk 2 or 3 blocks. This is how much I walked last year. Okay, imagine I started in Los Angeles. I came within 300 miles of London. I ended up in the middle of the Atlantic, and it's a good thing I know how to swim. But that's how much I walked. Okay, since that day when I said I was going to start walking, I have walked 30% of the way to the moon. If you take it, the Earth at the equator, around the Earth at the equator, I have walked it 2.92 times. And if I keep going at my present pace, by my birthday in June, I will hit 3.
Amazing.
I'm actually trying to adjust it and time it so that it happens exactly on my birthday.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't, I don't, but I'm trying to time it that way. So that's the first thing I learned. I'm more powerful than I ever imagined. Now let's talk about you, the listeners, for a minute. If I'm more powerful than I ever imagined, guess what? So are you. You are more powerful than you ever imagined. I am no more special than you are. You are no more special than I am. We are all special, each and every one of us. We are all more powerful than we ever imagined. You are more powerful than you ever imagined. And I want you to remember this because we're going to talk about it again as we keep going through the program. Now, once you realize that you're more powerful than you ever imagined, you start asking yourself some questions. And the question I ask myself is, if I'm capable of doing all of this, what else out there is waiting for me to do that I should do that I haven't done yet?
Mm.
And the answer I came up with is that I should turn this into a system that helps other people learn how to change their life in an instant. Now, my story is weight loss, but the system I put together doesn't work for just weight loss. It works for anything. I purposely designed it that way, and we're going to talk about that, but remember that as we're going through this. So I said, okay, I'm going to put a system together. What's this system going to be about? Well, the first thing I realized is I said, the goal is not perfection. The goal is excellence. Let me explain the difference. If you're a perfectionist, nothing's ever good enough because you're never going to be perfect. There are no perfect human beings. Believe me, I tried. You're not going to be the first.
Mm.
There are no perfect human beings. Instead, I am no longer a perfectionist. I have become what I call a good enoughist. Good enough is good enough. You don't need to spend all that energy to try to be a perfectionist. Now, bear something in mind. When you reach the stage of good enough, that doesn't mean you can't get better. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try to get better. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't beat yourself up. Don't punish yourself. That's what's important. So I said, the goal is not perfection. The goal is excellence. So I said, what are the qualities of an excellent human being? Started thinking about it. In the beginning, I came up with 14. Then I quickly added 2 more. And then I quickly added 4 more and came up with 20. And I've been using that list of 20 for several years now. And I've yet to come up with any situation in life that those 20 points can't handle. So I feel pretty comfortable with the 20. And I said, what are we going to call the system? I decided to call it the way of excellence.
Mm.
And if you notice, look how everything's color-coded. Everything lines up nice and neat. Everything fits. You can tell how anal I am when I put this together. But I'm going to tell you something funny about this chart is on my website. It's also on the wall behind me, as you can see, all this stuff. But I will tell you something funny about this chart. I was looking at it just a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed there's one word misspelled on the chart. And I said, damn. And I thought about it and I said, should I go correct the charts I have on my wall? Those cost me $100 each. Should I correct it in my book? Should I correct it on the website? Should I correct it everywhere? Or should I realize that this is the way of excellence, not the way of perfection, and leave it there? Good enough is good enough. The word's misspelled, but when you read the word, you still know what it is. You still know what I meant.
Yep.
So I left it there. I said it belonged there. I must have subconsciously put it there on purpose. It belongs there. So that's okay. It's fine. So as I created this thing, I said, what are the qualities? Let's go through some of them. The first one is learning to tell it like it is. Don't BS yourself. Don't kid yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Don't fool yourself. Tell it like it is. And that's what I did on February 1st, 2009. I said, if I don't make changes, I'm going to be dead. That's telling it like it is about as realistically as you can. But there's a second part to it. a part that I had not followed previous times in my life. That was not the first time I told myself I need to do something, but it was the first time I permanently took action
Mm.
toward, based upon what I told myself. Permanently took action. So you got to take action after you tell yourself like it is. Now, anybody who's been in any 12-step program, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, first thing they do is admit you got a problem. That's essentially, what I did. Same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. All these things we're talking about, they're in the system. They're in a specific order for a specific reason. They build on each other. So they're designed to take you through it. And once again, all this stuff is on my website, and I'm going to tell you how you can get it, and it's all free. I make it available for free because it is my way of giving back for the good things that have happened to me. So don't worry, you're going to get all this stuff. So what's the second one? The second one is realizing that life is a long-term game.
Mm.
It's not a short-term game. Problem is, we live in a short-term world.
Yep.
Order something, instant delivery. You want food delivered, instant delivery. Alexa, please instantly give me an answer. Siri, please instantly give me an answer. I want to watch a movie, streaming program, click, there it is. Don't even have to drive to the theater, don't have to go anywhere. Everything you want is right at your fingertips. Well, that's good, but it's also bad if we misuse it.
Mm.
And so realize life's a long-term game. Every time I used to go to a Chinese buffet to eat lunch, that was giving me instant satisfaction, but it was hurting me in the long term. Every time I would go home from work and I would sit on my butt, that was giving me instant relaxation and satisfaction, but it was jeopardizing me in the long term. So, it's learning that, and things take time. Everything I did, it did not happen instantly. But once again, the important point is you get started and you keep going. I have 2 books that talk about that they're available for digital download on my website for free. So one of them is The Way of the Long Term, and the other one is The Way of Constant and Never-Ending Improvement. You have a simple goal. If it's a long-term game, your goal is to beat yesterday. You want today to be better than you were yesterday and be better tomorrow than you were today. But realize something, you're a human being. Sometimes not falling apart and not turning to shit is beating yesterday, because that might be what you did in the past.
Mm.
And if you didn't do that today, guess what? You beat your past. You beat yesterday. Good job. Keep going. So now, third thing, taking personal responsibility. Okay. I realized it was not my mother's fault that she died when she was 48 years old when I was 8. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't my father's fault that he didn't know how to teach me how to eat properly. And then he let me get as big as I did. Wasn't his fault. He did the best he could with what he knew at the time. My mother, it's not her fault she died. I mean, the one thing she did that I was angry about for a long time was she did not prepare me for her death. She did not warn me and she did not tell me. But if you think about it, how hard is it for a 48-year-old woman to admit to her 8-year-old son she's getting ready to die? That's not an easy thing to do. So I decided to cut her some slack and forgive her for that. And when I decided to not blame my mother and not blame my father, I also decided to not blame myself. You know why? Blame is irrelevant. Blame does not fix problems. The only thing that fixes problems is figuring out what needs to be done and then doing it. Blame is irrelevant. It serves no useful purpose other than to make you feel better by blaming somebody else, or yourself. There's no good to it. So let it go. And I wish all these world politicians would learn that. Yeah. Stop blaming each other. Start fixing stuff, please. Okay. Then I started I'm jumping through the system now. I started focusing on positive things. You know, I'm real big on word choices. I'm trying to find my little, my sign right here. I started using the word can. I stopped using the word can't. I started focusing on the positive. I stopped focusing on the negative. I started focusing on the good. I stopped focusing on the bad. I started engaging in positive self-talk, and I stopped with the negative self-talk. Pay attention to the words you tell yourself. Your brain hears it. And I'm going to tell you, any type of success, not just weight loss, any type of success, 90% of it is between your ears. It really is.
Yep.
It's what you tell yourself. It's what you do, how you act, how you think. Then we're going to expand on that. Part 6 in the system, perspective. I stopped saying I have to eat better. Let me ask you a question, Jack. How many of your clients who you work with say, well, I have to go see Jack today.
Yeah.
I have to go work out today. Do they say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to teach you to tell something differently. Nope. You don't have to go see Jack today. You're still alive. You're still breathing. You get to go see Jack today. It is your privilege to go see Jack. It is not your obligation to go see Jack. It is your privilege to go see Jack. When things become a privilege, it becomes easier. I do not have to eat healthy every day. I get to eat healthy every day. I do not have to walk and exercise every day. I get to walk and exercise every day. I am breathing. It is my privilege. If I were dead, I don't get to do it anymore. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I get to do it. So do that, it becomes easier. Then I started expanding my vision. I said, what can I do here? And the answer was, I can change lives, thousands of lives, maybe even millions of lives. That's how ambitious I am. And that's how, I talked about long-term before. I have long-term goals. That's one of the reasons I haven't retired, because I got stuff to do. I'm just getting started, baby. I got a lot of stuff to do, many years worth of stuff to do. So, but start thinking big, helping people, making the world a better place kind of stuff. That's what I mean by thinking big. What you want to do might be different than what I want to do, but that's okay. And that's okay. The world already has one Stanley. It doesn't need another one. But the world does need you to be the best you can possibly be. The world does need that. Then I started paying attention to how I use my time. I started identifying places where I was wasting time, and I stopped doing it. And I'm not saying never watch TV. I'm not saying never doom scroll on the internet, or whatever. Just don't do it all day, every day. Pay attention to how you use your time. Like, for example, I watch 30 minutes of TV every day. At the end of my day, after I've done everything that I got to do, I get in bed and I watch 20 or 30 minutes of TV, then I go to sleep. That's it. I don't spend hours watching the news every day. If I did, I would be depressed.
Yep.
Yeah. But I spend 10 minutes every day when I get up on the computer and I read the headlines and I see what's going on. And guess what? I'm just as informed as anybody else. You don't need to do all that kind of thing. So, and I make sure I use time toward my goals, toward my pursuits, toward what I'm doing. Like the time, it is Saturday. It's my Saturday day. It's Sunday for you. I'm in America. You're in Australia. Okay. We both have other things to do on our weekend. Yet we are doing this. You know why? Because this is a quality activity for a quality purpose, for a quality reason. And we want to live quality lives. And we want to help people. So there you go.
Hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Then action, taking action, consistent action with your action that is consistent with your goals. I used to say, I want to lose weight and get in shape. And then I'd go to Chinese buffets and sit on my butt and drink scotch. Is that going to get me where I want to be?
No.
No. So I got rid of those things. And then I started doing other things that were positive, that were consistent with what I wanted to do. Then number 11, persistence. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Galaxy Quest, but in there they say, never give up, never surrender. That's what it is. Never give up, never surrender. Keep going.
Hmm.
Get started, keep going, no matter how long it takes, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You have a bad day, start again. You fail, learn from it, keep going. I already told you, you're a human being. You are going to make mistakes. That's normal. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. It's
Love
okay.
that. Yeah.
Learn from them. That's what's important.
Mm.
You know, um, so you keep going. Then respect. Not only respect for others, but respect for yourself. I used to complain that people didn't show me the level of respect I thought I deserved. All while I was walking around at 300 plus pounds.
Mm.
So I was showing people an outward, visible manifestation that on some level I did not respect myself enough to take care of my health. Is it any wonder they didn't respect me?
Mm.
Duh. Yeah. And when I started getting in shape and started losing weight, guess what? People started respecting me more. That's the way that works.
Yep.
Then now I learned something about balance. I learned this in a Tai Chi class one time. You know what balance is? Balance is identifying everything that's deficient in your life and increasing it, identifying everything that's excessive in your life and decreasing it.
Hmm.
That is balance. Now, balance is not something you find. You're not going to go to a class. You're not going to read a book. You're not going to find balance. Balance is something you intentionally, consciously create. I have created an incredibly balanced life for myself, and it's wonderful, and I like that. But it was intentional.
Mm.
And I made a lot of changes, adjustments, some sacrifices, did some other things to get to that point. And it's wonderful, to be in that place. For example, I want to walk every day. I want to walk for hours every day, but I want to continue working. So what did I do? I put a treadmill in my house. I put a computer on the treadmill and I walk on the treadmill at 2.25 miles an hour and I'm typing and I'm working while I'm doing that. Yeah, I can do both.
Yeah.
Get my work done and get my exercise done. And I go outside too when I walk and I do other things too. And nowadays when you have a smartphone, I'm not like a doctor where I have to be at that you have to I have to go to the office to see my patients.
Mm.
Most of it, I have clients I've never met. I've talked with them, I've Zoomed with them, whatever, but I've never met them. So you can do that in this day and age. So creating a balanced life. Then now we get to what I call the 4 factors. These are going to determine whether or not you're going to be successful. The first one is willingness. Let me ask you, what do you think are the 3 most important words in the English language?
Your name?
Well, okay. I used to think the 3 most important words in the English language were "I love you."
Mm.
Well, I've changed my mind. To me, the 3 most important words in the English language are you willing? If you're not willing to do all the things that we just talked about, I just wasted my time telling you about them
Mm.
because they're not going to do you any good if you're not willing to do them. But if you're willing to do them, if you're willing to try to do them. That's where all the power starts coming in.
Mm.
So, but you have to be willing to permanently change for the rest of your hopefully very healthy, hopefully very long, hopefully very happy life. Permanently change. You have to be willing to do that. But as we said before, you don't have to do anything. You get to be willing to permanently change
Mm.
for the rest of your hopefully very long, very happy, very healthy life. See? Word choice makes a difference.
Does.
Okay, then belief. I already told you, you're more powerful than you ever imagined. Question is, are you going to believe it or not? Because if you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way, you're going to be right.
Hmm.
So you need to start believing in yourself. Believe that you can change your life. Believe you can be successful. Believe you can do things. Seriously, you can. But once again, you don't have to believe. You get to believe. It's a game we're playing here.
Mm. Mm.
It's your privilege. Then there's discipline. And I'm not talking about punishment. I'm talking about self-discipline. It's identifying all your negative habits and eliminating them. Chinese buffets every day. Done, gone. Drinking scotch every day. Gone. Drinking soda pop every day. Gone. Sitting on my butt every day. Gone. Then intentionally, consciously creating new positive habits to replace those. Eating only healthy food every day. Yes. Walking every day. Yes. And when we get to the end, I'm going to tell people how much walking I recommend they do. You
Mhm.
don't have to do what I do. One of the reasons, you know why I walk as much as I do? Because I can.
Mm.
I'm so powerful. After 17 years, I haven't found my limits yet. I'm still trying to find them.
Mm.
That's how powerful I am. That's how powerful you are. So that's why I do those things. But so forming new positive habits for yourself.
Mm.
And then there's everything I just described to you sounds hard, doesn't it? Well, I'm going to make it easier for you. The power of commitment. When you become 100% committed to doing something, it becomes easy. And you know why? Because you stop asking questions about it. I'll give you an example. The other day, I was out walking with my wife. One of my neighbors came outside. She saw us. Somebody had just given her a bunch of limes, and she made key lime pie. And she brought us out 2 big pieces of key lime pie. And she said, "Do you want this?" She said, "Stanley, I know you're not going to eat it," because she knows how I eat.
Mm.
She said, "I know you're not going to eat it," but she asked my wife, "Do you want it?" And she said, "Yes, thank you." And we took it. I turned to my wife. I said, "Let me smell it." I smelled it. I could smell the limes. I could smell everything, all the sugar, everything else that was in there. And I said, "I know what this tastes like." And I didn't eat it.
Mm.
The thought of eating it never entered my mind. I never asked myself, would it be okay to have a piece of it? Because it would. I mean, I'll tell you, at this stage, if I were to eat a piece of key lime pie, it's not going to kill me, and I would not relapse. I have no doubt about that.
Mm.
But the reality is, I have no business eating that stuff because I'm playing a long-term game here. I want to do every single thing that is within my power to maximize what they call my health span. You ever heard that term before?
Yep.
Health span, not lifespan, health span. How many years do you have on this earth where not only are you alive, but you're healthy enough to enjoy it?
Mm.
I want to maximize my health span every single minute. So I am 100% committed that no unhealthy food is going to enter my mouth. That's it. No unhealthy food is going to enter my mouth. I don't, anytime, yeah, before Christmas, somebody gave me cookies and cupcakes. I didn't think about eating it. I gave them away to somebody else.
Mm.
The thought did not enter my mind because I'm 100% committed. If I have a morning where I wake up and I don't feel like doing my walking, I do it anyway because I'm 100% committed to walking every day. That's why it has been over 8 years since I last missed a day walking.
Mm.
And the only time I missed those days, I was pretty sick those 3 days. And if you would have told me that those 3 days were going to interrupt what would otherwise be a 12-year streak, I would have found a way to go walking anyway on those 3 days. Seriously, I
Yeah.
would have. Um, so that's how committed I am.
Mm.
When you're committed, it becomes easier. You stop asking questions. Now, let's pull all this together. We're going to talk about integrating all this stuff. Okay. You generally you have 3 parts to your being: your mind, your body, and your spirit. The mind here is in red, body's in blue, spirit's in green. You see that little person in the middle of the picture?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to be, where everything's balanced. So I was having that discussion with my older brother this morning. He's 81, vegan like me, tremendously good shape, but he exercises to the point where he beats himself up
Mm.
and his body breaks. And then he has to go through a surgery, repair, whatever. And I keep telling him the goal is to build your body up, not to break it.
Yep.
But he has in his head, he's obsessed with getting better, better, and better. And he says, why do I do that? And I told him this morning, I said, why you do it is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what do you need to do and are you going to do it? I said, you already know that you're a little nuts when it comes to that stuff. He admits it, you know. So I said, the problem with you is your body is running the show.
Mm.
And your mind is taking a back seat to your body. So in other words, this little figure is probably more over here. He's not in the middle. The body's running the show. He needs to, I keep telling him, you need to learn to meditate. He says, well, I do deep breathing exercises. I go, yeah, you do, but that's your body again.
Yep.
You need to learn to meditate while you're doing that deep breathing, whatever. Get in touch with your mind.
Mm.
Let your mind start running the show. And do that kind of thing. And you know why this is? It's because your mind, it's all connected. Your mind feeds your body and your spirit. Your body feeds your mind and your spirit feeds your mind and your body. It's all connected. And when I say spirit, I'm talking about everything that's intangible, the stuff you can't put your finger on, kind of thing. Does all this make sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense. And I absolutely love this.
No,
This
it
is
makes
great.
excellent sense.
Excellent sense. Yeah, we don't want to go for perfection.
Yeah.
So I've got 1,000 questions, but I'll
Go ahead.
try and wrap it up into one or maybe 5.
Go ahead.
Environment. I'd like to touch on environment. So you said when you were walking up the hill, we were walking up the hill. So was your wife in it from the start? Like, I do believe your environment includes the people around you, like you said.
Sure, absolutely.
Was it something she joined in with? Like, did you have to convince her? Like, again, I'm just saying this because a lot of the time when people start, they hold it in and they're like, I've got this journey and it's my journey and I don't share it with anybody else.
Okay. Let me tell you my story. First of all, I agree you should share it. Absolutely, I agree you should share it. But there's an old saying, don't share your goals with trolls. You ever heard that one before?
No, but they'll love it.
Don't share your goals with trolls. In my case, was my wife 100% on board when I started? No. But back on February 1st, 2009, I'm going to share with you the conversation I had with her. I said, I'm going to make some changes in my life. You might like them and you might not like them. And if you don't like them, I don't care. I have to make these choices or I am going to be dead. I'm going on a journey. I'm inviting you to come along with me on that journey. And I hope you do. But if you don't, there's the door. You can walk out right now. I don't care.
Mm.
I call that a moment of healthy selfishness. I was incredibly selfish. I put myself first and it was necessary. And just so you know, spoiler alert, we're still married. But I did tell her those things.
Mm.
You know, some women might have walked out.
Yeah.
You know, when you tell them that, but I did that. And the answer is she's been mostly on board. She doesn't always do things that help support me, but she doesn't do anything against me either.
Mm.
But she does, you know, we go walking every day, you know, we do a lot of things like that. She's been, over time, I've been getting her to eat healthier. And so she eats more healthy foods. She doesn't eat the same way I do, but she eats a lot of the things that I make. And I always make sure that there's healthy choices in the house,
Mm.
type of thing. Because if she wants to, she's going to snack. I'd rather her be eating a handful of raw unsalted nuts than an ice cream cone.
Yep.
You know, or a donut or something like that. So, you know, so I do work on that. But did that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. And I love that because, again, like I was saying, like you took selfish health into your, like you needed to change. So you took it into your hands. And obviously, if she walked out, that was probably still, you know, her choice, but it's still good for you, like because you needed to change.
Yeah. If
And
she
having
would have
those,
walked out, I would have kept going.
yeah, because those hard conversations are hard to have, but they're very necessary. So awareness is what I want to talk about next.
Good. I'm aware that you want to talk about awareness.
As we're talking about, a lot of people get trapped in that rat race and they're just working 9 to 5, not thinking about themselves, anybody else. How do we get people aware?
I call that autopilot.
Autopilot. Yep.
And I have a book on that.
Perfect. It's probably why I want to talk about it. So how do we get people more aware of themselves and want to change? So somebody gets that point and they're like, I want to change. I want to do that.
Okay.
How do we get that to happen?
Okay. Let me tell you what to do. First thing they do is they go to my website, thewayofexcellence.com. Thewayofexcellence.com. Please put that in the show notes. I'm
Definitely.
guessing you're going to do that.
Yep.
Okay. Now, go there. When you go to that page, you're going to be directed to a place, start here. There are videos on every single one of these points that we're talking about. The videos are 8 to 12 minutes each. My suggestion is you watch one of them a day. Over the course of a month, less than a month, you'll have chewed through the whole system. You'll have learned the system and you'll be able to start incorporating it in your life. Now, you want to talk about autopilot. The book that's on my website is called The Way of You. Let me see. I've got the picture of the cover right here. It's called The Way of You. It breaks your life into 3 parts: finding you, becoming you, and then optimizing you. See, when I got started, I found myself. Then over that journey, I became myself. And now that I have become myself, I'm in the optimizing myself phase. How do I constantly get better and better and better and better? You know, kind of thing. But it talks all about autopilot. You know, it's becoming conscious that you're doing it. You know, start charting your daily activities. What do you do every day? You know, do you sit there and, you know, watch cat videos, stupid cat videos all day? There's a thing all over Instagram now. These are AI generated, but they're parrot videos. And this parrot's been going there and they're hilarious. And what do? I watch 5 minutes of them a day and then I put my phone down. You know, I don't spend hours and hours and hours watching it. So I'm not saying life has to be dull, but become conscious of how you're using your time. You know,
Any tips on doing that? Because I find a lot of people struggle to do that and they'll just get caught up in things. So, is there any practical things you do to be conscious of your time?
yes, start making a list of how you spend your time.
Mm,
At the end of, and you can make the list as you go along through the day, or you can make it at the beginning of the day, or you can make it at the end of the day. Take 5 minutes and make a list of this is what I did today and about how much time I spent on it. Because the problem is where people don't even bother to do that. They don't even think to do it. They don't know to do it. We have most of us, unless you're dealing with, raising 10 children, have a sick parent or something. And even then, you can find some time for yourself.
mhm.
You know, I always tell people, 4 things to do to get healthy, to get started. First one is eat less processed food and more natural food. Less. I'm not saying eliminate it, less. Don't go to McDonald's. Don't go to Burger King. I don't know what kind of junk food you have in Australia, but I'm
Very
guessing
similar.
you have plenty of it.
Mm,
Um, so less, eat more fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, whole food, real food type of thing. Okay.
mm,
Quit eating 4 or 5 hours before you go to bed. Don't take your food to bed with you.
mm.
That's not good for you. If you quit, like if you go to bed at 11, quit eating at 6. If you do that, you'll have 4 or 5 hours there where you don't eat anything. Then when you're sleeping, that's 6, 7, 8 hours. So you might have as much as 14 hours when you didn't eat anything. There's a process the body undergoes. You ever heard called autophagy?
Mm.
Where your body cleanses its cells, it cleans itself out. Your body needs time to process your food. People who are obese, especially, your body is just full of toxic junk inside your colon, inside your body. You need time to clean it out. And it didn't get there overnight, and it's not going to get out overnight, but it takes time. Then walk 20 minutes a day. And you know what happens if you walk 20 minutes a day? You meet some very interesting people. And would you care to guess who the most interesting person you're going to meet is?
Yourself.
Yes, yourself. You
Mm,
have time to think.
mm.
And when you're thinking, that's a perfect time for you to ask yourself, did I live today on autopilot? What did I do?
Mm.
What do I maybe want to do differently? What did I do right? What's good? And then, in addition to that walking, set aside another 15 minutes a day for yourself to sit quietly by yourself. You can meditate if you like to meditate. You can pray if you want to pray. You can just sit in a comfortable chair by yourself and quiet if you want. You can do deep breathing. You can do whatever you want, but 15 minutes a day, that's to yourself.
Mm.
You know what happens? If you will take 15 minutes a day, over the course of a year, that's 90 something hours that you will have spent relaxing. If you will walk 20 minutes a day, every day for the next year, you will have walked 120 hours over the course of that year. It's amazing what you can do, when you start thinking about it,
Mm.
you know, but it's becoming intentional. And I'm going to share a little story with you about the walking. When I started walking, I had days where I didn't want to do it. Well, back in 2007, 2 years before I started my journey, I met a woman. Her name was Peggy Chun. She lived in Honolulu, Hawaii. She was an artist, and she had Lou Gehrig's disease. She was completely bedridden, on a ventilator,
Mm.
and she could not speak. The only way she could communicate was trained people would hold up an eye chart and they could read her eye movements. She could spell out words.
All right.
I interviewed her for a book I was writing, where I was going to go around the whole United States and talk to about 50 people for a book that I was writing. Well, Peggy was like the first person I talked to, the first or second person I talked to. And it was in Honolulu, Hawaii. When I saw her, the thought that went into my mind was, if I ever get like that, put a pillow over my head and take me out. Seriously, I don't ever want to be like that. Well, you know what she was thinking about? She said, my grandkids are coming over later today, and we're going to go to the park and we're going to paint. It's a beautiful day today. She said, you're going to be driving around the United States and interviewing all these people? That sounds like so much fun. Tell me about them. Who are you going to be talking to? I wish I could go with you. This woman, who you would think would want to be dead, had more joy for life than anyone I had ever met before. I will always remember her. So whenever I had a morning when I said I didn't want to walk, you ever heard the phrase, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Well, I started saying, what would Peggy Chun do if she could? And the answer is Peggy Chun would have gotten her lazy ass out of bed, and she'd have gone for that walk, and she might not ever come back. So every time I didn't feel like walking, I said, I'm doing this for Peggy. And I got up and I went walking. That's who taught me about, I get to do this. She didn't do it intentionally, but I learned that from her. You know, she couldn't do it. I can. So why am I bitching?
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's the best thing about meeting a bunch of different people and like doing the work you do and the podcast as well. Like, I meet a bunch of different people that have done very hard stuff. And whenever I'm complaining about something or don't want to do anything, I just think of them. I'm like, this is nothing compared to what they went through.
Yeah.
And perspective helps a lot. And yeah, even when they're smashing it and like Peggy is like just absolutely living the best possible life, it just gives you way more energy and inspiration. Yeah.
And you know what she did? She was a painter. Do you know what she did when she couldn't move her hands to paint anymore? She had people hold up a canvas and put paint on her nose and move it around, and she painted with her nose.
So good.
You know, and to show you how interesting it was with her, she had this disease. It was genetic. It ran in her family. Her grandmother died from it, and her twin sister died from it. Peggy had one morning where she woke up and her legs were weak. She didn't need to go to the doctor. She said, oh shit, I know what I have. She knew.
Yeah.
And she knew what was in store for her. And she dealt with it.
Yeah. I know we've gone a little over time than what I said. To wrap up, I would love to know what's got you excited at the moment. Like, what are you working on? What are you looking forward to? What's getting you out of bed and just absolutely killing it?
Okay. On my website, thewayofexcellence.com, tons of free material to help people. And I also work with people privately. If someone wants to actually hire me to work with me, and I can work with people all over the world, you know, because, you know, the magic of Zoom, you can sit there and do that. That's one thing that has me excited. Changing lives, helping people, and helping people get healthier, helping people change their lives in an instant. I'm a long-term thinker. You know, I talked about playing the long-term game. I play what I call the ultra long-term game. I am 66, and I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I have my next 100 years planned out. Whether or not I'm going to make it remains to be seen. But, you know, there's an old saying, I'm going to live forever or die trying. Now, I have things to do. I want to change lives. I want to help people because I believe this crazy mixed up world we live in is an incredible world with just like I was 17 years ago, an incredible world with incredible potential, but mixed up. Well, How do you fix that? One person at a time.
Yep.
And we all get together and we all collectively do that. That's what has me excited. So I work with people, I work with groups and that type of thing, but I also give back as well, because sometimes the mission is more important than the money. And that's one reason, if you're listening to this, that's one reason I think you should trust people like Jack and me more. Because we've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. Not once has Jack asked you for any money. Not once has Jack tried to sell you anything. Not once have I asked you for any money. Not once have I tried to sell you anything.
Hmm.
That's because we're in it to help.
Hmm.
It's not just about the money.
100% agree. And I couldn't agree more with that one person. I say this all the time. Like, you change one person's life, change their world, and like it's literally changed. So you can change the world just one person at a time. So
It's the butterfly effect.
100%.
Butterfly in Australia can change the wind currents and make it over here to America and change the world.
100% agree. Well, like I said at the start, I was looking forward to this chat for weeks. So I appreciate your time. You did not disappoint. So is there anything else that we've missed that you just want to let everybody know about?
Yeah. If you're listening, you've got this. This is your time. Go for it.
This has been the best start of the day. It's been absolutely epic. So, Stanley, thanks
I told
again.
you it was a good way for you to wake up.
100%. What is up? Thanks for being here at the end of the episode. Obviously, you've enjoyed it and it's helped you find your true form. And I bet you know somebody that's going to help find their true form as well. So I'd appreciate it if you could copy this show link, send it to one friend or family member and say, hey, have a listen to this. It's going to help you find your true form. They'll probably have no idea what you're talking about, but it will help them. And I'd appreciate if you could do that. Also, all podcast platforms these days have some sort of algorithm. So the more you interact with this episode, the better it's going to perform and help reach more people and help them find their true form as well. So 5-star review, positive comment, like, share, comment, however you can interact with the episode. I'd appreciate that. And everybody listening that hasn't heard of the True Form podcast is going to appreciate it as well.